Now we're recording.
Now we're recording.
We're
officially.
Live. Okay.
5 plus and they'll see 4 channels.
Oops. Shocker. All right. Welcome to And If Love Remains. Glad y'all can be here today. My name is Mike Levitt, your host, and I'm here with a bunch of friends and family. This is good times. So, I have with us today Jim Transue. Say hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Jim is my friend, despite what he says.
It goes both ways there, Mike.
Right.
Don't start.
And I'm not sure where this is going to go. There's a lot of things we can talk about. But I also have his son, Jimmy. Say hi, Jimmy.
Hi, Jimmy. One's in the family.
Yeah, I hear the resemblance. and then I also have Steven, my son. Say hi, Steven.
Hi, Steven. I just want to be one of the group, you know? Just trying to fit in.
Just trying to fit in. And then we have an impromptu member back behind me, Rachel. Say hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
We're all fitting in.
We're all a bunch of sheeple like Maricopa County, I guess. So thank you, Jim, for setting the precedent of...
Always happy to send it off the rails. Right off the rails.
Right on. Well, we're going to just kind of, what do you guys want to talk about? We're all here together, chilling, having a good time. Rachel sounds nervous back there.
I am.
So nervous. She's getting stage fright on the spot.
No, I'm not.
We speak.
I've been on stage before multiple times. I don't get
think
stage
she caught
fright.
the irony in your voice. She has an irony deficiency.
Rachel, do you get black spots in your eyes when you stand up too fast?
No.
That's a bad sign.
Maybe I just never have stood up too fast.
I tried to make a story about the black spot. Boy, is that complicated lore.
Jimmy, let's talk about stories. You're doing some audio.
Yes,
Talk about
I am.
that. Talk about your audio.
Well, I'll first let you help me with the... Is that better?
That's better.
I'm just looking at the waveform. Sometimes it looks like it's about to start clipping, so I wasn't...
Oh.
Oh,
I can fix that with a little tape saturation.
So yeah, I've done so far 3 chapters of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm trying to do a bunch of different voices for the different characters. But since I'm director, producer. So I'm director, producer, editor. And
You wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Tell us more about that process.
It's public domain now, so yes, he did.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
2020.
2020 copyright.
Copyright 2020.
Jimmy Transue.
Right. So the vial of supposed corona vaccine accidentally turns Dr. Jekyll into a murdering ape-like beast.
As we all expected.
As we all expected.
Yes.
And thus we see the pros and cons of conforming to government.
Absolutely.
Well, he was a pro doctor, and then he conned into Mr. Hyde.
The only pros of government is the legal language. That's all you get.
Is there legal? Isn't all language technically legal? I mean,
You'd think that, but
until you start getting politically correct.
So we managed to get off the rails again.
well, really, we're all just telling. So
Welcome
Mike
to another
can fix
session
my
of
mic.
So anyway, the trouble with being the
Yeah.
The trouble with being actor, director, and producer is trying to keep track of all of the different voices that you're doing. So I tried to do Hyde as kind of like a back of the throat, upper nasally.
Can you give us a little taste of Hyde?
Mr. Hyde? Trying to get that guttural but nasally, back of the throat, really tight. And then the narrator is this really deep and late AM radio announcer. Dr. Jekyll is
Mr.
closer
BBC.
to my normal voice, where he's kind of upper register, but I try to be a little bit more breathy with Dr. Jekyll. Mr. Utcherson is very proper, very strict on his inflection, as it were, or cadence, especially.
Right.
very stentorian.
Yes. But you're swapping between characters, and
All of a sudden, Hyde sounds like an Aussie from.
credit to Robert Louis Stevenson for always making sure that he was writing out who was speaking, because if you're reading too many characters, you get lost as who's saying what. But when you're narrating that, it gets very repetitive to constantly be saying, Mr. Utterson said, he interjected, he interrupted, he sighed, constantly after every other sentence. So that gets annoying and complicated to remember which character you just came from. And when you do it too fast, you start going over your words like, "Tut tut, Mr. Utterson," replied the lawyer.
You replied the
It wasn't
lawyer.
deep enough. I was a little bit too back in the throat. I was a little too close to the next character that's going to be speaking.
We're gonna swap out your mic cable, so talk amongst yourselves. And
All right. Oh, I can steal this guy's. Steal mine. You were on a roll there.
yeah, keep going.
Here we go.
Testing. So, what I do is record it into Audacity because it's free, and then edit it in Audacity because that's what I have. I don't even know what compression does, but it sounds nice, so I try to do that. Then I export it into Blender because Blender is free and awesome and is going to take over the world someday, I guarantee it.
And you have it.
Yes, I do. I've been using Blender since 2.59. It didn't even have a video editing workspace in that at that time. But now it's at 2.87. They're almost going to launch 2.89, I think, when they're coming out with this. It went from being this thing that people get started in to now Blender does the visual effects for Man in the High Castle. They are photorealistic, they are quick, and because it was free, it's what everybody learned on, so now that's what people are going to keep using. And when they added the video editing workspace, it was my go-to video editor. People have been telling me to use DaVinci Resolve because it's free and, quote, industry standard, unquote. But I don't know it as well as I know Blender. So I import the audio into Blender. I do a couple of modifiers on a basic grid mesh to get it to be an audio visualizer. So it goes up and down. There's no correlation to like bass on the left or treble on the right. It's just a cloud texture that's going up and down. And then I run it through a compositor where it takes the rendered black and white image of the grid, blurs it out.
It's getting way too technical, Jimmy.
I add a colored glow.
There you go. I make it different colors.
Yeah.
Everybody gets their own color, and that's how we do it.
Is this one working now?
Oh, I don't know. Is it working now?
Is it working now?
Yeah, it's working.
Is it working now?
Okay, I'll let you take it.
I get my mic back. Woo!
So everyone gets their own color. I did not have the foresight to plan out which colors everyone would be getting. So the narrator is green, but that means I can't use green for any of the characters. But you only have so many colors. You got red, orange, yellow, green, blue.
Is it how many
purple.
colors do you really have, Steven?
You have as many as you want. And if it's not the color you want, you just punch it and it's a different color.
Well, how many colors do you have though?
How many colors do I have? Black and white and lots of shades of green and lots of shades of blue, which also overlap with the shades of red that somewhat really don't exist.
So Steven is our colorblind expert.
I'm
here.
a resident. I'm not colorblind, I'm color lame. Don't worry, I'm also lame in lots of other ways.
And don't think I tried to figure out how to make it so that a colorblind person could understand. I haven't figured out how.
Try Braille.
color braille.
Yes, I will invent the first Braille audiobook. It'll be a masterpiece.
A regular Mozart over here.
So is that going to be on YouTube? What's your plan? Are you going to publish it? What's your deal?
I have 3 chapters on YouTube right now of varying quality. Because
Where can people find it?
Can they find it?
Can they find it? Is it public yet?
How
It'll
many
be a
filters do I need to put on my YouTube search to be able to find it?
that's a good question. You're going to have to look for James Transue, Transue, going to have to find that under YouTube channel. Currently, I believe my avatar is Eric Draven from The Crow. I have about 30 subscribers, so...
To separate you from all the other James Transues
Yes,
out
I
there.
think I have the most subscribers of all channels named James Transue.
I imagine you do.
That's shock.
So I think there's 9 of you in the whole country, and not all of them are on YouTube.
And we're not subscribed to each other either, so...
Are you subscribed to any other James Transues?
Absolutely not.
Wow. Okay, so everybody check out James Transue and check out his ongoing audio story of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Copyright 2020, James Transue.
Which apparently is pronounced Jekyll, actually, because...
Yeah, the
Harlan
original
Ellison-
pronunciation was Dr. Jekyll, but if you say Dr. Jekyll, you just sound like a pompous, pretentious dork. So,
And I don't want to sound like that.
right,
See,
right.
that actually comes back to I was having a conversation with somebody about art in general and how like once the artist has like made his art public in a way it doesn't belong to him anymore, how it's now, you know, how people conceive of it, how people, not that they don't own it, you know, I still believe in copyright, but but things like that.
For
Jacob,
75 years anyway. Right?
right?
Disney.
I know Disney's gonna take over the podcast here in a minute, so but things,
Stupid insert vinyl pop.
right on. Anyway, but things like that, like how can you ever go back to Jekyll? You know?
Right, you can't.
You'd have to have a very commercially successful movie where they all pronounce
Where
it
everybody
specific-
pronounces it Jekyll.
Yes, and
Well,
then
well, then you have that becomes the Avatar remake, and nobody wants that.
no.
Oh yeah, that was awful.
Is this like you went from everyone knowing Frankenstein was the doctor, and then it became everyone knows that Frankenstein is the monster, but then everyone really knows that Frankenstein is the doctor and the doctor is the monster, but you have to go through all these cycles of cultural awareness of who Frankenstein is, because people still call the monster Frankenstein
Sure.
Right? Does he have a name?
in some versions.
Yeah, I think.
I don't remember him giving himself a name in the book, but in most versions where he gets a name, I think he usually goes by Adam.
Yeah,
actually.
in most versions where he gets a name, he goes by Adam. I don't remember Adam being in the book, but if it was, it would have come from the doctor himself. And then in Dean Koontz picked up on Frankenstein and put him in the 20th century in Louisiana. And the monster named himself Deucalion, the son of Prometheus.
Ah,
So that's kind of interesting. Plus, somewhere along the way, he spent like the last 100 years in Tibet learning how to teleport. So Frankenstein's monster is
Sounds like
this
the Prestige.
super awesome, powerful, teleporting dude who's out to stop the evil Frankenstein from taking over the world. So
man, and that's why Koontz is a stud.
it's one of 847 reasons.
Right. That's pretty great. That's awesome. So, speaking of Frankenstein and Halloween and all that stuff, one of the reasons I did want to talk to Jim a little bit is he is our Halloween aficionado. He does.
That's
haunt.
a title if I've ever heard it.
He's put on he has the last 3 years put on the top Halloween swap meet in the world.
I guess that's fair to say.
Yeah. It's just as accurate as saying that my son has the most popular channel named James
Well,
Transue.
I was gonna go with Phoenix, and I thought, well, yeah, but Arizona, yeah, but
It's probably the biggest Halloween swap meet in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably is.
so how did this whole thing get started? Like that's such a cool story, I think.
Okay. Well, the true start was it was just a haunted swap meet. We have a bunch of people in our local group who call themselves haunters, and they have Halloween is their favorite holiday, or it's their biggest holiday for most of them. For some of them, Christmas and Halloween are co-equal.
Like if families, like if a wife is a Christmas person and the husband is that like a Democrat Republican? Like they just you don't know how they get along.
It kind of depends on their other relationships.
Right.
I think.
I think one person takes charge of Halloween, the other person takes charge of Christmas.
That certainly happens.
Yeah.
That
The
certainly
biggest
happens.
fight they would get into would be storage space.
Storage space is a problem for both. Yeah, it's
Hence
a
the
huge
swap
problem,
meet.
which is right. So the first year, actually 5 years ago now, I guess. It was just a swap meet. It was just like, hey, if you belong to our group and before you put your Halloween stuff away, why don't you bring it out and we'll do a little swap meet. And if you want to sell your stuff or trade your stuff with other people, stuff that maybe you're not going to use next year. And there was about 6 people who showed up to actually trade their stuff, because the point of it at that time was to swap out your props and things before you put them away, but therefore after Halloween. Right. So you used them this year. I don't want to put them back in storage, and I'm not going to use them for the next 3 years or whatever. So about 6 people showed up to actually do that. About 50 people actually came and looked at stuff. So, as things go, it wasn't a disaster. But the next year, there was an event called Keen Halloween.
Okay.
Actually, the same year as our first swap meet, there was an event called Keen Halloween in Phoenix, and that was started by a man who goes usually by the name of Steam Crow.
Which is like an epic name for...
Yeah, Steam Crow. He's got this steam-powered, steampunked scarecrow. It's pretty cool. It's a good mascot. I think actually his name is Marrow Thatch.
Okay.
Is the name of the mascot for Steam Crow. Anyway, it was a pretty great event. And then the next year, we weren't really planning on doing a swap meet at all. We were going to participate in Keen Halloween, and we invested a lot of time and a certain amount of money into building things to display for Keen Halloween in Phoenix.
Right.
And then Square Egg, which was the company that controlled the Keen Halloween name at the time, about a month before it was supposed to happen, pulled the plug. Yeah, so they sent out an email. We've stretched ourselves too thin. This I'm definitely paraphrasing. We can't do the level of show that our fans have come to expect, and so we're just not going to do a show at all.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. So about 30 days before this big event was supposed to happen, there was no event. So I decided at that time, with a couple of my haunter friends, that we'd already got the weekend scheduled off anyway. We already had people planning on spending time at Keen Halloween.
Right.
I personally knew several artists and artisans who were planning on selling at Keen Halloween. And so one of our big supporters, Faye, she's like the vice president of Arizona Haunters.
She's great. I've met her. She's awesome.
So she volunteered her yard, and so we basically, I just put out the word, hey, you know what? If you're bummed about Keen Halloween not happening, here's this tiny little thing. If you got something to sell, come and sell. And about 600 people-ish showed up.
Wow.
So that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Right? It was a pretty big deal. We filled up her yard. There were a lot of issues with doing it in a yard.
Right.
Not the least of which was there were literally cars parked for as far as you could see down her street on both sides.
She's going neighbor to neighbor, knocking on doors. Hey, we're working on it.
Okay. So we're like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is cool. No, there's no Halloween thing really happening.
Right.
So we got a group together. I say we got a group. I mean, there's always been a core group of people who kind of pushes for everything to happen, right? I've been fortunate to be one of that group. Faye is one of them. There's Jeff and Crawford and Rick.
And it's great because these guys, they love Halloween stuff. Like they're passionate about haunts. They're passionate about just the whole everything that's surrounding Halloween.
Absolutely, about the fun of Halloween.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are into like horror movies and stuff. Also, some people want nothing to do with Christmas, but really, by and large, they're just like everybody else. They still celebrate all of the other holidays. It's just they feel like Halloween is the one that really calls to them.
Right.
And as much as every child did, I loved Christmas. The fact is, Halloween gives you the most, in my opinion, still, the most opportunity to be creative.
Yeah, for sure.
Frankly, you get too creative with Christmas and you're strolling into heresy territory. Or
the Son of God wasn't exactly
right. Yeah, you can get too creative with, but Halloween. You say what you want about its origins, and there are many roots, but it's
and you can. The great thing about Halloween is it's you can be kind of macabre. You can be scary. You could be a ghost. But you could also be the
Great Pumpkin.
The Great Pumpkin.
Yep.
But you could also be a superhero. You could be the
right.
guy on the TV show that you like. I mean, it's really limitless. It basically you could be anybody but yourself.
Essentially that.
Yeah,
right.
Wes Craven, Joss Whedon, and Mel Brooks, really. Full spectrum of what you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do anything you want for Halloween, regardless of where it started, or what the original intents may have been. Today, it's basically just a chance for kids to dress up and get candy.
Right.
Or, if you never grow up, it's a chance to make your house spooky and try to scare people who are coming to your house to get candy.
Which you do from time to time.
Which I do from time to time. So anyway,
Awesome.
So this kind of core group of people, I was like, we can really do something with this, but it's going to take a lot of money.
Yeah.
As things do. So instead of being a free event to the vendors, we just tried to keep it as cheap as possible. And I think what we did that next year was give us $50, and then if you actually show up, because that was one of the problems the first year, people were free, so they didn't show, even though they told people they would.
Right.
So if you actually show up on time and leave on time and don't leave a mess, we'll give you half back.
Okay. Yeah.
And we rented a parking lot, and we were like, this is gonna be it.
Right. It's not gonna get any bigger.
It was an enormous parking lot. It was ridiculous. We had like 12 hearses lined up side by side on display, the gorgeous hearses. We had like 3 food trucks. We had 50 vendors.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Only?
And we had it was about 50. And it's just.
And was that the first year you had like artisans come out?
It wasn't the first. It was the first year that we did it on in place of Keen Halloween. We did have artisans come out.
So it wasn't just stuff out of your.
It wasn't. It was partly that.
Yeah.
But again, because I knew certain artisans locally who were planning on making money at Keene and who were therefore just out of that money, I invited them.
Right.
And kind of put the word out, and a few other people who I didn't honestly even know took a chance and showed up. And universally, they told me that they all made more money at that one little yard sale for one day for 4 hours than they made in 2 days at Keene Halloween the year before.
Right.
Which is awesome. And it was in part because they didn't have to pay anything to get in, and that automatically, therefore, everything is profit, right?
Right.
But also, the event itself was free, and people like to come to free things.
Yeah.
And 600 people isn't huge. Like if I was doing an event at Phoenix Convention Center and 600 people showed up, I would probably jump out of a window.
Right.
Because I'd be $300,000.
But it is about expectations. And I mean,
Right. I wasn't expecting anything, and then this whole thing. So anyway, we moved to the parking lot, which literally was across the street from where we had done the Keen the year before. And it had this huge parking lot that was fenced in, and then it had this other like super long, like half-mile long, maybe not half-mile, maybe quarter-mile long, parking lot outside of it.
right.
And I was like, this is going to be awesome, man. There's plenty of room
We'll
for
be here,
everybody.
You'll be there year to year.
Yeah.
You'll never have to outgrow it.
Right. It was impossible to outgrow this thing. So by about 9 a.m. we had outgrown it. We did get everybody set up and started because it's outside, so it had to be fast. We did 9 to 1. 9 to 1 were the hours, so people started setting up at 6.
Right.
And by 9 o'clock, when it actually opened, there was no parking.
It's
Every
unbelievable.
single parking space was full. The inside the lot where the vendors were to park, that was packed. Like, if you weren't leaving early
Right.
because somebody was parked behind you and in front of you and on both sides of you. It was.
And you had vendors still showing up.
We did. So, Anyway,
Yeah.
I could go on and on about I could spend the rest of your life talking about the problems. But that's the thing.
But it was great.
Every year we get new and better problems.
Yeah. I like that new and better problem.
Right.
Remember that, Steven.
Well, everybody has problems, right? Warren Buffett has money problems, and the bum living behind Circle K has money problems. I prefer Warren Buffett's.
Right.
Given the choices, right? I prefer the better problems because you're always going to have them. So it was pretty clear that, all right?
Good year two.
Bit of a problem. Plus, it was. And people say that this isn't true, but man, I was there. It was 115 degrees, easy.
It was hot.
And on that pavement, there was a guy who had one of those, those thermometers, like laser thermometers.
Yeah.
And like on the pavement, it was like 123 degrees. It was impossibly hot. Only one person was suffering from heat stroke, and that was at the end of the day, and he was a vendor, and he was elderly. I was super glad that only one person got heat stroke, and we did have an EMT who's part of the group who took care of him, so that was solid.
It was packed. I mean, people were just coming all day long.
All day. It was a constant stream of people. So we counted about 2,100 people at that event. So almost 4 times.
Yeah.
The number from the previous year.
And the feedback you got back from the vendors again was positive.
I got nothing but positive feedback on the vendors, except for the setup, which was frankly mostly the other vendors' fault. Because they wouldn't,
follow
they wouldn't show up on time, the time that they were allotted, and they wouldn't go in the order that they were supposed to go in, and they were literally driving over each other's places.
It was
so. All right. So we scouted and scouted and scouted and ended up last year at Metro Center Mall.
Hold on, I want to add one other thing. The other cool thing I remember from that, and I think you've kept, is that even though you charge for booths, you always kept first of all, you charge like minimal.
Yeah, very little. As little as we can get away with.
Right. But you also kept the swap meet where you did have a section for free people that they could just bring their stuff. And is that true?
We continued to have that second year.
Okay.
We were not able to continue that into last year.
Right. Okay.
So last year,
sense. I mean,
inside the mall, we had AC, we had power for everybody, which obviously was not available at the parking lot. We had 15,000 square feet. We had so much parking outside that there's no way parking was ever going to be a problem.
Right.
And spoiler alert, it wasn't. It wasn't a problem.
right on.
And we spent 3 days. Well, we spent 2 solid days, and then the early morning between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. setting that up.
Yeah.
Started Thursday. Went in there, 15,000 square feet. We set it all up. I think we ended up with around 7. I think we had about 60 actual professional vendors, and then another 24 or something. I could look at the exact numbers,
Yeah.
but we filled up the space, and we had another 100 people easy on our waiting list, right? And we did end up charging. We did end up charging people who had just like yard sale tables $10.
Okay.
And the reason we had to do that is because the mall did cost considerably more than a parking lot.
Still, I mean. And you did you keep it free for entry?
Still free to attend.
Which is
It's always been free to attend.
remarkable.
Yeah. So we set all of that up, and we're like, we'll we got about 2,000 people last year, and maybe we'll get 3,000, and maybe we'll really do great and do 4,000 people, and it'll be a heck of an event, right? So the doors open at 10, and there's already a line going through our entire queue, which we had set up because at that time people were still a little jumpy about weapons.
Okay.
But also we needed to control the flow.
Right.
Because it's 15,000 square feet, but I can't just have 2,000 people show up and crowd in all at once.
Right.
So we were controlling the flow to the best of really anybody's ability.
Uh-huh.
But there was a line all the way through our queue and all the way out the door, which went right past the Army recruiters, and they were loving it. I'm like, if you guys can't meet your quota for the year, right. there's got to be like 200 18-year-olds in this line right now. Go get them.
Yeah. Off to it, brother.
So we had the hearses still outside. Chaos Funeral Cars are a great club. They got these really awesome customized hearses,
Yeah,
and if
they're
you've never seen a customized hearse, you don't know what a hearse is capable of.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Like, it is amazing. They're not just for dead people anymore.
Although if I were dead, I'd want one of theirs.
Oh my god!
Yes.
One guy actually has a Ouija board in the built into the back of it. and it always moves around. It's a pretty cool setup. It's pretty good. So anyway, we had them. Arizona Ghostbusters showed up with the Ecto 1. We pulled that. I mean, the mall was super great.
Oh.
They were super great. They let us like push all of the stuff that was in front of the doors, all like the planters and stuff. Just push it out of the way.
Oh, that's great.
And just drive the Ecto 1 right up in front of the door.
Fun.
So that was nice. And for a good 2 hours, maybe 3, there was a line that stretched all the way from the end of the Sears building, and sometimes even around the Sears building, all the way down along the outside on the Sears building, and then into the mall, and then eventually into our suite, which was up at the north end of the mall. So basically there was the Sears, and then there was like right outside the door of inside the mall, the Sears entrance inside. We were basically right inside there. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the Sears building, and we still are not able to get the Sears building because they won't talk to us. But anyway, so from the start, it was very clear that we had way more than 2,000 people were going to show up, and we had counters there, and we ended up officially counting 6,100 people.
Wow.
I do know that there was an incident about an hour in where somebody hit the reset button on the counter rather than the clicker button.
The clicker button.
So it could have been somewhere north of
Am I looking at you, Jimmy?
No.
At all. I was doing the raffle.
Yeah, he was emceeing the raffle because that's one of the things that we did.
Yeah.
Was people who buy enough stuff at any given vendor get tickets, and
Like
then we give away
$10
prizes. Yeah, for every $10 that you
Man,
spend.
that's a win-win-win there.
That was the hope, right?
Yeah.
It was the hope because the whole thing was really like, let's celebrate Halloween, let's have cool Halloween stuff. Yeah, so we were packed in like sardines. It was just overwhelming. And don't think I didn't hear about it. You would have thought that I was drowning kittens in the parking lot with all of the complaints that I got about people who had to stand in line for 20 minutes to get into this free event.
Again, Bill Gates problems.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
because they are big. I mean, those aren't insignificant issues to deal with.
No, it was a lot. There was nothing we could do about it. And really, from 10 o'clock till probably 1 p.m., it was shoulder to shoulder in there. We had vendors completely sell out.
Wow.
Of all of their merchandise. Other vendors managed to have something left to put in a box to take out afterwards. Everybody, from a financial perspective, did well.
That's great. Which is great because it just encourages better,
Sure,
better shows, more people.
Absolutely. So it was really a win for everybody. If you really like Halloween and wanted to find some good deals, I still had the like yard sale table stuff. If you were really looking for more high end stuff, we had some really great stuff. We had master paper mache sculptor, and don't discount paper mache. Tom Dead Stuff was there.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Tom Dead stuff,
Yeah,
it's whoa.
It's stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Even at its most macabre.
Right.
And then world famous pumpkin carver. You probably didn't know there was such a thing as a world famous pumpkin carver, but there is.
No.
Ray Villafane was super gracious. He showed up and he carved a pumpkin out for everybody to watch.
How cool.
So Ray and his team have literally traveled the world carving not only pumpkins but sand and rock and ice and trees. Like, if it can be carved, he and his team have carved it.
Wow.
And if it's a continent with people on it, he has been there and carved stuff.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. So
to get
he was there. Just again, the Ghostbusters were there. We had Sanctum of Horror was there.
Yeah.
That's a haunted house in Mesa. They set up a photo op there.
Rachel did some
I
of
did a commercial for them.
Yes, you did.
That was
Actually,
fun.
Sanctum of Horror had been a sponsor on the previous one, too, because one of the ways that we were able to afford to promote the thing was to get some sponsors. So anyway, it was a really big event, but 6,100 people. Everything was great, with the sole exception of people were just packed.
Right.
Just packed. And while it really didn't do the vendors any harm, if you wanted to go in and like peruse,
right,
enjoy
enjoy the experience,
right, like truly take your time and thoroughly look at things, right, to peruse the displays, you didn't have that option.
Yeah.
If you weren't on the outside of the aisle, you weren't going to see anything because you were just getting pushed around.
You're gonna have to.
So you really had to maneuver
go through again.
Right, you had to maneuver your way over to the side, to even have a chance.
And obviously, because I know you, and I know you try to think through like as many issues as you can, try to anticipate,
Sure.
these kind of things. I mean, did you imagine it was going to be like that, where it was going to be so many people that you couldn't really maneuver?
No, it never occurred to me that there would be a threefold increase in attendance over the previous year.
Yeah.
For one thing, we moved locations every year.
Right.
Which is supposed to be a killer, right? Supposed to kill events. And then for another thing, it was just Halloween, and it's only supposed to be a distant number 2, right?
Right.
But we did work through a lot of problems in advance. But basically, the one thing that we could not anticipate was the sheer size of the crowd. So this year, I told everybody we'd be doing it again. I had already spoken to Metro Center Mall even before the event started. So I don't want to move.
Right.
We're gonna do it here next year, right? We didn't have contracts drawn up for a couple of reasons. The mall was always seeking to rent out space. They've always been looking for investors to just buy the mall and turn it into whatever it is they're going to turn it into.
Right.
But we kept in touch with them. Meanwhile, we did try to reach out to the Sears people. By the way, this is how it works in the malls. If you're in a mall, those big box stores, those don't belong to the mall.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that they belong to the mall. They don't belong to the mall. They belong to the company that has the name on the store.
Right, the anchor for the mall.
Right. So the thing with Sears is they declared bankruptcy sometime back, and that particular building, at least, is now in a hedge fund company back on the East Coast. They're like $1 billion hedge fund company.
That's exciting to track down.
We did, though. We did track it down. Again, we have some incredibly dedicated and skilled volunteers, and Faye was able to track down the company that owns the building. And they blew us off, and then they finally talked to us to say, not so much. So anyway.
Well, that was an anticlimactic story there.
I know. Well, I bring it up for the simple reason that it would have been amazing to have the Sears building, and so many of the critics were like, obviously, you should have used Sears. I'm like, well, yeah, it would have been great if we
could get a key.
Right. Open the door. Right? Hire a locksmith, open up Sears.
That's right. Owner.
They're all the way on the East Coast. What are they going to do?
So we did end up working with the mall and had this great layout where everything was going to be awesome. We were actually going to skip being inside suites altogether, and the management had agreed to basically let us take over the entire common area of the mall.
Oh, wow.
So we worked it all out, and there was room for over 100 10 by 10 spots and a stage, and there were 3 ground level entrances and at least 1 upper level entrance. So a 20-minute wait, even if 10,000 people showed up, was not going to be a problem because there was literally 4 different ways you could get into the mall.
Yeah.
And you weren't forced into any one direction. I
bet the tenants of the mall would love that.
Yeah, the tenants who I got to speak to last year, some of them told me that they had never had as good a day as they had that day in the entire time that they had been at the mall. Forget about events. They had never had that good a day. I am told, because I was too busy to eat, that the food court ran out of food at least once. Some people tell me that they ran out at least twice. I know that the gelato place that we had been promoting because they offered our attendees a discount, I know they ran out of gelato.
And this was... And this was, this wasn't like an all-day event. That's the other thing. It
was 10 to 2.
10 to 2. So you're out of there at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Was it 2 or was it 4?
I think we went later because if it was 10 to 2, we would only have done like 4 raffles.
Yeah, I think it was 10.
10 to
I'm sorry.
4?
I think it was 10 to 4.
But still, that's.
I think it ended up being 6 hours.
Yes.
Because we were 4 hours the year before because it was too hot.
And then 4 o'clock it came, started winding down. It wasn't as busy as it was, but it wasn't empty. It was
never empty. In fact, even at the last minute when it was over, I was literally physically pushing people out of the door. Not LA cop style, but
right.
I was
making
definitely
it clear
like,
that it was closing.
Right, starting at one end and just like exits that way. You gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta go.
Yeah.
You gotta go. You gotta go, and just walking them through, and pushing them out the door. So
this year you got all this set up for being able to really expand.
We did, and then unfortunately the mall, because of all of the things that have been happening, they did not feel that they could move forward with an event at all. So I found that out 99 days ahead of the event scheduled date. And so I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen this year. It might. There's a couple of malls that are talking to us.
Well, and if anybody knows of a spot, they got a big Sears, in their backyard, or man, it'd be a shame if you couldn't put this on, because it is such a fun event. Having been part of it one year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really enjoy it. We would need at least 30,000 square feet, and we really need it to be all but donated. Right? Really.
Yeah.
$3,000 is like a lot of money for a group like ours,
Right.
and it's a pittance for commercial property. But we're not charging anybody to come in, and we're not going to.
Right.
If it goes forward at all, it'll still be free to the public, which means that it'll still be divided between donations and sponsors and just the vendors themselves.
Right,
paying
and
their vendor
the little
fees.
bit you get from the vendors.
Right. We do try to keep that minimal because I have been a vendor at places before, and I don't think I've ever paid, with the possible exception of First Friday in Mesa or in Phoenix. I don't think I've ever paid less than $250 for a table, and that really puts you in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people know they're going to do $1,000 days every day, but most people, they're just hoping,
trying.
They're just hoping to break even, and that's a horrible way to run a business. That's a horrible way to try to live your life. You dedicate yourself to your art, whatever it is. Ceramics, leather, feathers, whatever, and
that's the thing.
break even.
These artisans, the ones I met. I mean, for the most part, they all got other jobs. I mean, they're doing this purely out of the love. And it would the one thing I think they would love to be able to do is sell enough of their stuff that they could do it full time and that they could absolutely, and the stuff they do is such quality, it's worthy of it,
It is. One of the things that artists and artisans face is not so much that people don't like their stuff, it's that people are always comparing their stuff to mass-produced Chinese plastic.
Right.
I did 8 years at the Renaissance Festival as an artisan. Paid way more than $250 for that. It's a great show. It's totally worth the price to be a vendor there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything bad about that show. It is amazingly well run.
Right.
And the people who go there will look at something that an artist who's been doing his art for 30 years has made out of leather or out of metal, and he'll be like, $30? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, I can get this at Walmart for like $5. Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Even if you happen to buy something made by slave labor in China at Walmart that looks kind of similar, it's certainly not the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
And same thing with our show at which we now call it's not even going to happen probably. It's we changed it from the Haunted Swap Meet because we had so many top quality artisans that while I'm all for self-deprecation,
right?
It was
a little too much.
It was. I am. It was a little too much to continue calling world-class artisans a swap meet.
Yeah.
So now it's the Arizona Halloween Marketplace.
Okay.
So
I mean, if people are interested in helping out or just keeping in touch with you, how would they do that?
Well, they could always find AZ Haunters on Facebook. And there's Marketplace at azhaunters.com.
Okay.
We have the forum at azhaunters.com. So,
I'll put all that in the show notes. And this is such a tough. I mean, concerts being canceled, the sport events being canceled. This is just a horrific time in any kind of entertainment. It
is. Yeah, it's been a real tough year, and because so many of these artisans I know personally. I mean, it's always like, oh, it's sad, you're not making, but, when you know these people and you know their lives and you know how literally close to the edge so many artists live.
Yep.
And then suddenly, they lose the last 2 weekends at the Renaissance Festival.
Right.
I mean, there's usually, those are the biggest weekends. Right? For many artisans, they don't make any profit until those last 2 weekends. And so those were just gone through no fault of the festival at all.
No.
But then they're gone. And then all of
and that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter that it's whose fault it is. It's just it is.
Right. It's just gone. There's no more shows. All the art walks were gone. If you were the kind of person who did art festivals or art walks, they're just gone. All of those people who worked at the Renaissance Festival, who actually travel around to different shows, they haven't done anything since February.
See, and that's the thing. Like
March.
I've seen a couple of people, kind of high profile musicians and stuff, and they had concerts canceled, but they would do online stuff, online concerts, and they'd be able to recoup their money and do a lot of things because they're high profile. These guys are not that,
They're not that. No, they're you can actually find, to kind of switch gears a little bit, you can actually find Renaissance Festival performers and entertainers doing what they're calling a virtual Renaissance Festival, where they're doing their acts online, but they're not getting paid for it. They're just doing it, for whoever wants to tune into it. So
that's going to be Steven's, unjob.
My unjob.
It's going to be performing.
Well, one day.
One day,
if I ever get a decent mic in front of
you've got 2 decent mics right in front of you.
I mean, 2 halves make 1 whole, so.
Random Thoughts by Stephen Levin.
For sure.
Oh. You know what I think we should do sometime? I mean, not today, but sometime we should do what was the 2000s? Oh my gosh, what was it? They sit and make fun of bad sci-fi movies.
Mystery Science Theater.
Mystery Science. We should do the audio version of that.
Riff Tracks.
Riff Tracks is
Riff
the audio
Tracks?
version.
Yeah. Okay.
Those people do Riff Tracks now.
They sell it, if I understand correctly, on like a little DVD, and it has quotes from the movie. So when a person says something, you press play on the CD, and then their commentary just runs right alongside of it. And every so often they'll have another quote so that you know whether or not you're still in sync with the movie.
That's good. Because I've seen shows with you guys, and it is quite... I mean, the entertainment value is there, I think.
Alternatively, we could make fun of anything around us.
Absolutely.
There is that.
This kid's haircut.
But some things are easier than others. Like, we could totally get Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Is absolutely the best Motown Kung Fu movie you have ever seen. And we could just have a hell of a night.
We should do it.
With that. I actually rented the worst movie ever made in the English language. After Earth. by M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. I rented that movie specifically and solely for the purpose of ripping it apart. Because I didn't get my money back when I saw it in the theater. And they
wouldn't let you yell stupid things at.
They might have. It would have been more entertaining than what I was watching.
Right. They'd had to pay you for it to do that.
Right. And I could have shown up in a drunken stupor and had better dialogue.
The thing with After Earth, though, is you can't do that with audio. We're going to have to see the movie so that we can pause it and pick apart every pixel.
Right.
There's so
Hey,
much
what's that spaceship
going on.
made out of? Is that Egyptian cotton? What are those walls? When does the spaceship's wall billow? What is happening in this frame?
It's the sail ship.
His name is what? Cypher Ray? Is this a joke? Is this the Babylon Bee? What
in a mountain, and then gets to see the wild buffalo.
Hey,
right.
No
sweeping
spoilers.
majestically across the What continent is this?
Right.
It is incontinent.
Right. There's king cobras and American bison, not only on the same continent, but within walking distance of one another, on a planet that somehow turns into a popsicle every night because that's how science works, and then becomes a lush Eden every morning,
and has evolved to kill a species that hasn't existed on the planet for 1,000 years.
Yeah, you're in trouble now, Mike. We
See,
could do 2 hours of this.
I now know what we need to do next time.
Right.
Wow.
So if you ever find this as you're reviewing it to edit it, what I was saying is I know a lot of these artisans personally, so I really, really, really wanted to make sure that they had a place, at least this year, one place that they could sell. And now I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. The closest that I've come is I put AZ Halloween Marketplace on Facebook as a Facebook group. It's a public group, so anybody can see what's there. And I asked all of the artisans to just post their stuff up there. So, if people want to buy something, then at least there's some avenue that they have.
Yeah, that's great.
It's not Craigslist. I really hope it comes through.
I mean, there's hope, but it's a pretty slight hope.
It's incredibly slim. I mean, we are about 90 days out right now from the anticipated date. The original date was at the end of September, and because of all of this COVID stuff, the event formerly known as Phoenix Comic-Con moved from Memorial Day and landed right on top of my scheduled date.
Oh, man.
So that threw me into chaos trying to figure out, is it better to do after? Is it better to do before? What is even available?
Yeah.
Working with them all through all of that. And so we finally, I had just announced maybe a couple of weeks prior to the vendors that we finally have everything solid. We had drafted the contracts. We had the date nailed down. We had walked through the entire property with the mall management and said, you can do this and you can do this. And they were like, we can provide these things. And it really felt good.
Yeah.
And it's really not going to happen. So
well, I know it's funny. Just the other day when I messaged you about talking about this on the show, and you're like, well, happy to come talk, because you just literally found out like a day or
I had just
week
found
before.
out. I had just found out,
and that's brutal. But I think. I don't know what I think. I think we need to buck up and go meet our neighbors and go get corona so we can get immune. Then we can all get together again.
Well, there's that, right? There's that. It would be great, if we could find a place. There's a couple of places where the management seems very positive.
Yeah.
One of them has actually gotten back with me, but the space is not much bigger than what we had last year, and it's not nearly as well configured.
Right.
And it's also on the exact opposite side of the valley.
Right.
So, I mean, talk about moving. Whether we can actually figure out a way to make that make sense, and whether the mall can actually give us a price that we can afford, that all has yet to be seen. And then there's another mall that's a little closer that is willing to talk to us, but they were supposed to get back to me yesterday on my proposal, and haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah.
So it's not totally impossible. It's just that there are so many pieces, and you don't want to just do something to do it. You don't want to just, because that's how you get bad shows.
Yeah. You have no experience with those, do you, Jim?
I mean, I may have spent $200 or $300 to show up at a show and thought,
is there a show?
Is this it? What's going on here? Why did I pay for this? No, I don't want to do that to anybody. I don't want anybody. The other part of that is not just finding the space and hoping that people are willing to go to the complete opposite side of the valley. But as we record this, we're less than, I think we're probably about 20 hours out from Maricopa County declaring that everybody who's indoors at bars and restaurants and stores all need to wear a mask.
Right. Hey, that works for Halloween.
It could. So,
yeah.
But it's like they can literally tell us to do anything that they want.
Right. So the day before they're saying, okay, now Now, we're not going to let anybody in. You all have to be 12 feet apart.
Right.
And,
on September 1st, are they going to say, we're back to no gatherings over 10? Right. I don't know. And I know that that's hurting other shows that are trying to move forward. And it's a big factor in my mind because I can't predict it. The government is entirely in control, apparently, of what we can do and where we can gather. Mm-hmm. I thought there was something about the right to peaceably assemble, but I must have dreamt it.
No, the right was to riotously assemble.
Oh, my mistake.
Sorry, yeah.
My mistake. Obviously, the meaning of words have changed in 270 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to go all like, political, but the fact is that they can shut us down without shutting us down. Mm-hmm. They can just say, well, no gatherings over 10. We've decided that it's wave 3 now.
Right.
And
that is the thing. Like, there is no, and that's a not to get darker than Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween's
reality,
all things, baby.
but it is interesting, like how there are so few people that are even pushing back, and those who are pushing back are just getting hounded.
Right, you could really destroy yourself.
Yeah,
it's the end of the world.
As we know it.
But do you feel fine, Stephen? Anyway,
So
yeah,
The world as
you're
we
right.
know
You're
it.
right. I mean, but the bottom line is, I've got this event that I want to put together. I want it to be a good event. It takes a ridiculous amount of man hours. We've already invested a fair amount, probably more than most people would do for no money at all, into making this happen. And now we basically are scrambling to see if we could even find a location. And do we really want to go back outside and be in 120 degree heat and no electricity?
just set up a bunch of screens. Everyone do Zoom calls.
Right. Right.
How do you feel about this item?
Vending machines?
Get robots to constantly be walking through.
There was someone who did a meat vending machine.
A meat?
Yep, meat. I forget where, but he did a meat vending machine so that after hours, when it was closed, people could come and get meat. So that those people that are working late,
Terrifying.
if they're working,
Was it raw?
Was it raw meat?
I'm pretty sure it was raw meat. Yeah, I don't know how, but
Just
he
frozen
did a
in there?
meat
If it
vending
was frozen.
machine.
If it was frozen.
It's probably
It's a
frozen.
frozen vending machine.
There you go. Well, capitalism, baby.
Yep,
Where there's a
and
will,
he
there's a
made
way.
so much off of it.
Why not? If you've got a meat popsicle vending machine.
How could we use this to our advantage?
Sounds good.
Man,
Like
those,
something you buy
those-
from a gypsy place. What is this? It is the meat popsicle vending machine of Atreyu.
There you go.
You look like an interested buyer.
Oh, that's good.
I can tell from your clothes that you are world travelers.
Thank you.
All right, I think we've gone long enough on meat vending machines.
Probably.
But I do want to thank Jim, Jimmy, Steven, Rachel. Thanks for all your commentary. No, I really appreciate you guys being on the show. This has been a lot of fun. We need to do it again. We do need to do some sort of commentary podcast. I don't know how that's going to work, but
I don't know. Good luck editing this one.
it'd be,
Yep.
oh man, this can go out live and raw, baby.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
It's one thing we love podcasts to be.
Right? Everybody loves an unfiltered, unedited podcast.
Cough, sneeze, cough.
so on that note,
Uncensored.
especially when I'm doing 5 tracks, it's gonna be fun. But hey, you know what? It's to the joy. Thanks again for being on the show, and thank you guys for listening to And If Love Remains. If you like what you hear, I don't know why you wouldn't. But if you do, share it with your friends. Buy some merch. We got a merch thing, I think I've heard. So go check out the website, www.andifloveremains.com. Like us on Facebook. Check out Arizona
Haunters, azhaunters.com.
azhaunters.com.
And AZ Halloween Marketplace on Facebook.
AZ Halloween Marketplace on Facebook. And then also look up the one and only James Transue with 30 followers on YouTube.
It's subscribers, Dad.
Oh, subscribers, sorry.
That's all the same.
And thanks you guys for being on the show. We'll catch you on the flip side.
All right.
Be sure to like and